Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today, I want to talk about a gentleman by the name of Jon Ramirez. He's an ex-CIA man, and I've recently just learned about him. And so much of what he says resonates with me as truth because it's my truth. It's things that I've experienced, things that I know. And so, and what I mean by that is where alien beings and them visiting planet Earth and us having bloodlines that they follow and things like that. These are the things that he's telling because that was his particular area of expertise when he worked for the CIA. And I fully believe what he's saying, guys, because this has been my truth my whole life, and my family's truth. And so to hear people that were on the inside who had the secrets, so to speak, speaking out about it and admitting it and telling it makes it even more validating and real for a lot of people. And I really want to share this with you. So we're going to take a listen. It's about 8.5 minutes long.
Found was that CIA was interested in certain humans that may have had an enhancement of this alien DNA. That is to say that basically we're all aliens in some respect. But some of us, some humans, have an enhancement of that alien DNA. And that was the first time I ever heard that. To me, that was the most shocking thing I ever heard of. I didn't know that.
Why were they so interested in the DNA of extraterrestrials and the DNA of humans that may contain extraterrestrials for maybe enhancements? I don't know.
There's a cognizance, I believe, within the intelligence community, particularly CIA, that there are humans among us that might be more extraterrestrial than human. And how do you identify them? That could be a major factor in why they were interested in that. And there's also the, I guess you would call contact tracing of like who's who.
Right.
And so what they did reveal that there was an interest in certain families.
How would you understand families?
I understand families to mean bloodlines.
Right.
That they were interested in certain bloodlines going back to
ancient times.
Who knows? Ancient times.
Now, I just want to pause that right there for a moment to say to you that this is something that I have found in my own research when I worked for MUFON and as well as my own experiences, that it is something that they follow in bloodlines. I mean, I have stories of my grandpa telling about seeing a UFO over the pond, dropping a bunch of frogs back out into the pond after it had been there earlier and sucked up a bunch of water. Personally, I think that was for doing like environmental tests to see how healthy and clean the water was and different things like that. I think that's what the animal mutilations are all about too. It's about checking the environment, like through a scientific approach. But the bloodline thing is a very, very important thing. And he's going to actually name a couple of bloodlines that are specifically followed by the beings. And Milo, please stop. And a lot of people, they know that if they have Irish in their family, they tend to be followed or tracked or whatever by the beings, but also, as he's saying, by the CIA, which makes perfect sense to me because after I was part of MUFON and Opus abduction research study program, and they wanted to know specific questions like, did it run in our family? What was our blood types? What was our family lineage? Guys, sorry about that. different things like that. My apologies for that. I had to take care of the kids, but yeah, we're connected to like the Cherokee bloodlines. They're very interested in the Cherokee bloodlines, which goes all the way back to the Hope Well and the Hopi and the Maya and Atlantis. And he's actually going to tell you that they have found connections between the Cherokee and the Atlanteans. So let's take a listen.
Did they mention other heritages around the planet that through this marker?
I was specifically told that the Cherokee heritage, the Cherokee Nation, had something to do with the phenomenon. And furthermore, that it has something to do with perhaps even the actual existence of Atlantis, that they may have been survivors of Atlantis.
No.
But then I can't prove that. I can't divulge a source. I was told by a very credible source.
And what was their take on Atlantis, since we're speaking about it?
I believe that their take is it's an actual, and it's not myth and legend, it's an actual place.
Do they know where it's at?
No.
No.
I don't know where it's at, and they didn't tell me where it's at.
Sahara Desert.
But what would give them that idea that the Cherokee heritage is connected to the Atlantean time, unless they had some sort of DNA to compare it to from Atlantis?
I think because that there's a preponderance of people in the intelligence community and in the military community, especially special operators, who've had these experiences, and when they examine these people and start questioning them about their background, about their family heritages, that it was a preponderance of Cherokee heritage associated with not only having these experiences, but with having implants.
Yeah.
So the suggestion of implants means it's possibly currently ongoing.
And it is. It is about the implants, and it is ongoing. From my own personal memories of my experiences, I remember having an implant put up my nose and also one behind my eye. I've had the teardrop scoop mark removed from my ankle, which I think is for stem cell or DNA identification. And then they keep that in like a file or something. And those were also questions that were asked when I was part of the research study, which was a double-blind study where they had, so many participants that were that claimed to be abductees or experiencers, and then the exact same amount of people who had no claim of ever seeing a UFO, UAP, or any kind of interaction with a being, to ask these questions. And many people that I have spoken to have talked about how they have the implants or the different things. And, that could very well be a governmental implant as well as an implant from the beings themselves.
Yes, it is. Because implants have been recovered from people, not just those who are in the military or intelligence community, but from others.
Well, being in this meeting, John, and listening to the biology and all the tech being, presented to you, and you going through this experience already, your whole life of, these different experiences with ET intelligence, what was going through your mind? What was your emotion?
My feeling was that this was why I had those experiences to begin with. That perhaps I was taken, and I never used the word abducted because I wanted to be taken. I was only disappointed when they brought me back. But perhaps this is why I was taken, that I may have had this lineage in my own family history. What is that purpose? And I didn't know for many years. In fact, it wasn't until 2020.
Now, I'm going to let him share his story, but I just want to interrupt again to say that I feel like all of us who have these ongoing experiences throughout our life all share a common thread of feeling like there's some type of purpose for us being here. There's some type of mission. And of course, now a lot of us are realizing that that is the Great Awakening. I personally had those memories from a very small child, that it would be for the Great Awakening, the mass awakening of people. And that it's not just to, political truths or religious truths or whatever, the truths about what they're putting in our food or our air or our water and all that. Even those things are included. But the main truth that we are to take away from this is that we are so much more than what we've been allowed to know, and that we are connected to each other, and we are connected to the Great Spirit or God or however you want to call it. And we're also connected to these beings, and that's how and why we can actually call them in our time of need, or just to commune with them, to see them. And I understand that there's a lot of people who have had these experiences that don't understand what's happening, and it causes a lot of fear and anxiety in them, maybe even anger and worry. But for people like him and people like myself, we understand that it's not something to fear. And, much like him, I welcome the visits. I want to see them. I want to remember. I want to be able to photograph it, to show it to other people. And I feel like we are in this time now to where people are more ready to learn that they are here, and they always have been, and that they are the ones who created us, in a sense. That doesn't take away from God being real. That doesn't take away from any of that belief system. Much like we are now creating AI and the how do you say it? The transhumanism robots and stuff. We're creating new things, and we're not God, but we have those abilities to do that. We have that intelligence to do that, and so other entities, other beings do as well, and much more advanced than us, obviously, because they've been around longer. Now, take a listen to what he says.
That I knew what I was supposed to do.
And what is that?
And that is to do exactly what I'm doing now with you.
Gotcha.
Is to share my story and to share my experiences with others who may have had similar experiences. And so on July of 2020 was my birthday. There was a CE6 global session, and it was called Harmonic Convergence 2020. My wife and I participated in this global CE6 session, and I just looked up and didn't see anything for a while. And all of a sudden, I saw this bright orb. It was a white, bright orb right in front of me over the mountains. And we were only like 2.5 to 3 miles away from the mountains. So it's above those mountains. My wife saw something simultaneously, but she says, it's over to my right. I said, no, it's right ahead. She was sitting on my right. She should have seen it on her left, but she saw it all the way to her right. And so I looked up, and then the message came to me. And the message was, there are things that you've learned, and it's time for you to share what you know. And that was in reference to their existence, the reality of their existence, and what I learned through my work at CIA. It's time for you to share.
And sharing meaning all the stuff that you've worked with the CIA, or the exposure to, the beings and these visions?
The work was what exposure I had to the reality that there are craft, they're real, and that there are beings in these craft. They're here for a purpose, for a reason. And that reason is not so much to warn us of impending doom or anything like that, but to remind us that we're stewards of this planet and that we're doing a terrible job of that.
Do you believe we inherited the planet, or do you believe there was extraterrestrials here way before us that...
I'll let him answer that in a moment. I just want to comment on that because this goes back to the Native Americans again, and even the Irish, because both of them have always had in their beliefs, their, you know, their culture, or however you want to say that, that we are the stewards of the earth, that we are the ones that are supposed to take care of the earth. That's why we were left here. And that's the way they would tell it, that we were left here to take care of the earth. So number one, that means that we were probably brought here from somewhere else. And number two, that means that we are the ones that are supposed to make sure that Mother Earth continues to flourish and be healthy. And like my grandfather, he would teach me, when we take a plant from the ground, we don't take more than we need, and whenever we can, we put more back than we took. Right? Like if you take one, you put 2 seeds back to replenish the crop, so that we're never overusing the crops to where they can't come back any further.
Started this.
Well, to answer your question, I believe we are also extraterrestrials. I think we were brought here and that we forgot our origins, and that some of the beings that are being encountered by humans today have been here a long, long time. And they may have had some input into how we developed, and that they have our best interests in mind, but they're concerned about the stewardship of the planet, that we are doing a terrible job of taking care of their planet and our planet, and that when we explode nuclear weapons in our atmosphere like we did decades ago, it not only affected us, it affected them as well. And so that's why they're so interested in us, especially after what we call the nuclear age dawned upon us, that we now have the means to destroy ourselves.
Right.
And by destroying ourselves, we're also destroying them. I think we're their children, and that they have, like a concerned parent, they want us to grow up, but they're giving us enough leeway to become cosmic adults, if you will. And that once we become cosmic adults, we can then join them in the full knowledge of our true origins and why we're here and what our purpose is. And perhaps we can then join them in becoming a spacefaring planet with them.
Again,
Into royalty.
again.
He into legacy.
So I think that was really good, the way he ended that little snippet, that we will become spacefaring a civilization that can travel in space again. And I say again because I feel like we've done that before. I feel like there have been cyclical moments in Earth's history where we were able to do that. For example, in Egypt, in different places, they found the small gold airplanes and helicopters and spaceships, right? And I feel like we had the capability of flight prior to some type of cataclysmic event. So I feel like we will be there again. But I also feel like we have to, you know, really realize who we are and our place in the cosmos this time. That this is a very important lesson we need to learn in order to prevent the cataclysms from happening on the same scale that they've happened on before. And I know there's a lot of people that disagree with me, shamans included, and that's okay, because I feel like all of us have something to add to this story of human history and our collective consciousness that we can all learn from. And that's my piece of this story, is to help finish Jesus's message. And I know that we can part storms. I know that we can calm the waves and disperse the earthquakes and different things. You know, I know that we can do those things. So if we collectively learn that, then we can collectively calm the cataclysms, depending on whichever ones are in the area that we're in or that we're paying attention to. So I think it's really important for us this time. And I don't think that's just my opinion of it. I have always felt like that was the whole reason that I'm here, and many other people are here right now, is because we need to learn this so that we can alter the outcome of these events at this time. Much like the Hopis say, we need to take that higher road, the road less traveled, and learn to be on that road. And I think this is that opportunity for us to level up and do just that. So I wanted to share this with you all, give you food for thought. And at 8 p.m. Eastern time this evening, I will be doing a live show with Jen, if you want to join in for that. And then tomorrow, I'll be doing the Sunday service at 4 p.m. Yeah, 4 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to do the call in or chat to get your personal reading or personal soul growth questions answered, any kind of paranormal or alien experiences that you need answers to. Anything that's metaphysical or paranormal is what we're going to deal with. And there will be a donation link in the description box for me to be able to help you. So just as soon as you contribute to the donation link, you'll be put right in the queue to be next in line. And this way we can help lots of people for any amount that you can afford to pay without a set price and not have to worry about the scheduling and stuff. We can just get it done right then. And it's a great way to build community too. So I'm really hoping we have a good turnout with that, because I think it's important in this time to understand that we're all learning and we're all growing and we're all changing and we're all going through shit. And we can get through this shit that we're going through together way better than we can if we're doing it alone. And so I really hope that this benefits many, many, many people. So I hope to see you there. And until then, have a good evening.